Welcome to Marketplace Live. Let's defy gravity.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Marketplace Live. I'm so glad all you could join us today. My name is Najdzin, and I'm the VP of Platform at Digital Realty. I'm excited to host this customer spotlight session with ION. They're a leading innovator in using advanced data analytics to enhance offshore energy, ports, and defense industries' critical decision-making capabilities. They are headquartered in Houston, Texas, and I look forward to discussing some of the many innovative initiatives they have going. So with that, I'd like to give a very warm welcome to Chris Usher, CEO of ION. Chris, thank you so much for joining me today.
Lou, it's my pleasure to be here today and represent ION. We've been enjoying many years having our high-performance computing residing in one of your on-prem facilities in Houston, which powers a lot of what we do. So it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah, we want to drill down in that powers what you do, because I think you're in a data-intensive industry. And as you know, we just published the Data Gravity Index. So I think this topic and your company really play well into the theme of our event, Defying Gravity.
Absolutely. The data gravity nomenclature is pretty interesting. And certainly in our industry and lots of industries for that matter, as digital transformation continues to take hold, is a really interesting concept. And data lakes have obviously been one of the things in our industry that it has been important around bringing the right, at least in our core business, which is geoscience and oil and gas data provision, the subsurface seismic data that we provide within our data library that we offer up to a wide range of customers in the industry is about large-scale data, and our customers need to take that data and commingle it with their proprietary, drilling data, other subsurface information, so that they can get the right answers to, and also better inform their decisions about where to invest in terms of offshore acreage or in terms of drilling requirements, et cetera. So data is what powers all that. And our tagline is powering data-driven decisions, whether it's in oil and gas or, in other places in the energy transformation with ports and harbors that we're working with and in wind farms and such like. But, we've long been in the subsurface data provision world, and we have what we call a multi-client library. It's really, the way to think about that is it's just a very, very critical type of data that's required in the oil and gas industry over many years, and we provide it through a data library or subscription offering. So it's kind of like the Netflix for oil and gas, if you will. And we have other companies, peer companies that do the same thing, but we have some special ingredients in ours. But having that data available in the data center in North Houston is great. That's our global hub. So we have our people all around the world logging into that data center to create those data products with all sorts of, proprietary algorithms that ION has developed over the years to enhance the subsurface images, and applying AI techniques to that data to further enhance it. And then from there, it's distributed out to the customers through a variety of means. So that's kind of what we do in that sense. We're with very, very large amounts of data.
Very interesting. Beyond exploration and production, you're also recently been diversifying your business into relevant adjacent markets.
Yes.
And can you talk a little bit, give an overview of the services and the industries and the markets you serve? And, a follow-on question, sorry to hit you with two, but does the way you create and store digital data assets have to change to support the new industries and markets?
Yeah, actually, I'll go to the second question first. I think the way we interact with data, the way we store it, the way we distribute it to customers has to change in our core business as well as the new industries we're entering. So, oil and gas has been, I would say, a laggard in terms of, or at least in the middle of the pack in terms of digital transformation. A lot of what we do has been digital for many, many years. But in thinking about platforms and data delivery is something that's been fairly new. So So we're in the middle of that, as are our customers and our peers. So there's a big wave happening in the oil and gas industry, a seismic change, if you will. But also in the adjacent markets, we're targeting ports and harbors, for example. We have some core software that we developed around, it's like air traffic control for the marine environment. It's called Marlin. We built a whole kind of software platform around that, which originally was running in traditional data centers on traditional workstations as well. And now we brought that also to the cloud. So it's software as a service. But it's hybrid. It could work anywhere, on-prem or in the cloud. And so we really had good take-up of that in the oil and gas industry around just managing operations more safely, more efficiently, saving money, keeping people safe. Like I said, it's like air traffic control in a way for operations. We have now taken that to other segments and industries where, moving offshore vehicles, vessels, as they interact with fixed infrastructure, whether that's platforms, whether that's other vessels, whether that's ports, are important. So we targeted ports and harbors and also wind farms and offshore logistics from port to platform in the oil and gas industry to really look at how do you save fuel, how do you operate more effectively, how do you, in the ports and harbors segment, how do you bring vessels into port, do the right size berth for that size vessel, offload goods, onload goods, and get out again in the most effective way. And what we found bringing that value proposition to that market in particular with ports and harbors is that they really were way behind on digitalization. They have really been doing this through cameras as vessels come into port, radios, physical whiteboards and clipboards, and et cetera. So we have a launch partner in Scotland called Port of Montrose, who were ready to, have better living through software, if you will, and adopted our software with a view that we would adapt to their specific needs and also take it to the cloud. So we did all that together, both with AWS, who was helping us use some of the cloud tools, and also with the port itself. And they're absolutely delighted now. We made the shift early this year from their whiteboard system to a digital whiteboard and a GIS-based, map-based system showing where the vessels are. And it is really like air traffic control. Instead of bringing planes in to offload passengers, we're bringing vessels into the berths that fit those vessels and that have the right cargo offloading facilities, et cetera. So it's pretty exciting. And it's early days for us, but that's another industry where digital transformation has really just started in the last, 18 months, let's say, and we're right in the middle of it.
That's fantastic. And when just a kind of a follow-on to that, when you talk about the storage of data, and you said it's a hybrid IT environment, are you seeing, like, it's two parts? One is, are customers want to be more cloud or private based, and then are they doing like hybrid in sense of, are they running your app in the cloud but then storing the data privately? Like, what's the?
That's a good question. And I think the whole, in all the industries we're either long-term experience with or just entering. I think we'd say that everyone's in a transition mode from traditional ways of working to new ways of working. So it does mean it's hybrid in many respects, and that hybrid could be sliced and diced many different ways. But on the port side, first of all, the data on the port side probably is less relevant at this point in terms of data gravity, and in that operational data is pretty light. But of course, our idea is actually that we will harvest all that data and keep it and manage it for people over time. So it will become large data or big data as we branch out and address the thousands of ports that are out there in the world that are going to go digital and use software like this. It'll be very important for them to store the underlying historical data so that you can learn, mine that with data analytics, get best practices, find ways to better manage ports and traffic. And obviously, we're going to try to expand out beyond the ports to, for example, Montrose won a contract leveraging our Marlin architecture to win a contract to service an offshore wind farm. So now we're connected to offshore wind through the port that we've piloted our software with. So when you think about wind farm construction, you're talking about the vessel traffic from the port out to the wind farm, carrying the turbine blades, carrying the service personnel out through fast deployment vessels. All that needs to be managed, and we'll have that underlying data to understand, how fuel is consumed, where the time goes when they're anchored, waiting on something. So over time, that will become big data, and in any sense, it will be critical data that will make drive better decision making down the road. So that needs to be stored somewhere, and we will be centrally storing that for those people. They'll have their own instance, but we'll have all the industry data that'll allow us to learn about everything that happens around the world. And the same goes in our core business with Seismic. We're already doing that. We have although our customers have their customer-specific data or project data, or an offshore project, let's say, we keep it all worldwide. So we're starting to build up a database of what happens where we can replay back any of that for regulators if necessary, through animated movies of the vessel positions and the marine mammal, regulated areas. So having that data is very powerful, and it needs to be stored somewhere and be dynamically accessed. So that can be, going to the heart of your question, that could be in a on-prem data center, or it could be in the cloud. Right now, we have a mixture of that. We have it, in our own centers, as well as make it available to our customers in the cloud. And again, that's light data, so that's an easier problem to solve. When you come back to our seismic data, that's pretty heavy data. It's petabytes and petabytes of data, and moving it around the planet between data centers, let's say, you need big pipes. And getting data from offshore to onshore, you need satellite communications. Traditionally, the industry's moved data by shipping disks and tapes from offshore to onshore, and then you get it in your data center. So that's traditionally how we've got data into the North Houston digital Realty site. But now people are sending it on disks. Then they're not, and we're looking at piping it in. We have pipes to various places. But I think what you're going to see in the next few years is, with the low-level satellites coming on, you're going to have economical means to move even highly dense seismic data around to where it needs to be. So that means getting data from private clouds, from our center, let's say, which we're going to have for some time, or into cloud. For, say, our customers want, all their data commingled in a data lake in the cloud. Let's say that's a large oil company, then we'll be able to do that. But the heart of it right now is everyone has a slightly different idea. Some people are moving quickly to the cloud, and they want all their service providers to have both software and data in the cloud commingled. Some of them want private clouds, some of them want both. And we're certainly in the situation right now where we have all of our seismic data, on-prem in our private cloud, if you will. We have demonstrated the ability to burst for the computing side into the cloud. So far, with done that with Google and AWS, which I noted on your website you guys work with. And on the Marlin side, we've used AWS to kind of provide that operational air traffic control like software in the cloud, so that any stakeholder can pick it up through a URL, and as a ship comes into port, they can just pick it up. We don't have to install the software. So as you can see from what I just said, a wide variety of scenarios and data storage locations.
It sounds like a distributed data challenge, and it sounds like our formula for data gravity ties right into that, right?
Yep.
So very interesting. And you mentioned AWS, and we just announced a partnership with them for Outposts, which is the private version of AWS on-prem, or in this case, what we announced was in our data centers. So a customer can have that hybrid experience. So very interesting.
Yeah, funny enough, I was talking with our account rep at AWS yesterday, and kind of an update on where we're going with, baseline capacity on-prem to cloud bursting and various scenarios. And we actually talked about the Outpost idea with them. The first time I heard that concept, I'm familiar with the concept, but the first time I've heard it called an outpost. So it's very, very interesting and relevant to what we do, for sure.
Yeah, I could see, as you described the hybrid environments, I could really see an application there for your customers that want to have that private cloud, but be close to you and be close to the public cloud, and use direct connects in a multi-tenant data center to achieve, maximum efficiency and minimum movement of data, right? So ultimately, when you think about data gravity, you don't want to move data if you don't have to, right? You talked about moving disks offshore and, mailing or, courier or satellite. And the last thing you want to do is move data, but if you have to, it's pretty convenient if you can do it inside a data center where you have your customer, you have the public cloud, you have your private cloud, all in a data center, and you're doing fiber connectivity between them. It could get really efficient, I think.
Yeah, and it really, I agree with you. And it comes down to, what's the right data to move? Because if you want to commingle data to get the most benefit out of that commingled information with the right analytics or the right software tools, you don't want to move the heaviest data. And when you think about our business and our peer companies' business as well, where we build up these data libraries and our customers license large chunks of it and need to access it. Normally, we would deliver that to their internal private cloud. I mean, that's the way it's worked over the last 15, 20 years. First with tapes, then with disks, and now with some dedicated pipes. But that's going to change very quickly. But it doesn't make sense if they've licensed all of our data, let's say, to necessarily move all that to their data lake. Maybe the other scenario is that, particularly with the subscription models, where we don't want to ship all the data to them. We want them to experience all of our data as they test it over time, bring their applications, which are very light, over to our cloud. So one of the things we've done with we're in the middle of actually with the on-prem digital realty site, is migrating our hardware, our high-performance computing hardware stack and software stack to be more cloud native, so that it's in our own private cloud environment. We can host other people's cloud-enabled software, or they can, in the oil company, can also bring over some of their drilling and well information, which is pretty light data as well, and they could commingle it on our site, do their analytics with their software as a service, portable software, and then take the results back, which is a lot more intelligent than moving chunks of data. And I'm sure we'll see all different scenarios like that. But our strategy is to make sure that our on-prem is cloud enabled and our software is portable, so that we can move it to the customer site if need be, on their cloud, private or public, and then operates similarly on ours. So just to be totally flexible.
Yeah, you touched on moving. I caught something in your answer that stuck out, was the moving the application to the data.
Yeah.
And that's, if you think about data gravity, data has an attraction like a planet. And the more data there is, the mass, the more attraction it has. So in the data gravity index, we talk about how data pulls applications and services to it, rather than trying again to move that big, heavy data. Yeah. So really interesting. I think it's a trend we're going to see continuing, is apps coming to the data, and in the future, because of the growth of the data.
Yep. No, so, totally agree. And as all the software service providers get their software, available in the cloud very easily, it becomes therefore very transportable. And the end subscriber or customer obviously has a license to use it wherever it is. So it makes complete sense. And that's something we're trying to do with our software. And we see many other vendors doing the same with theirs. So that software can be accessed in any of the cloud, on-prem or private cloud ecosystems. And as you say, where most of the data is. Right. So I have one more question to close out, and looking to the future, and you touched on this a little bit, right? But as you look to your future opportunities, and this year the event theme is Defying Gravity, what data gravity challenges do these future opportunities present, and how do you plan to defy them? Yeah, I think we touched on some of those pieces. I mean, we've recognized early that, we have a range of customers who are all going to have different cloud strategies. Some are going to be laggards and want to, have data sitting behind their firewall in their private cloud. They're going to want to have some data in a public cloud where they can, again, have enough gravity to attract all of the vendor solutions in the ecosystem really easily to make decisions. And we're going to want customers to bring their, have at least the opportunity to come to where we have our data residing. At the end of the day, it's about efficiency and reducing costs while getting the most information out of the information and the data. And that means moving like you were talking about. I love your gravity idea, attracting the lighter data and the applications to where the most important and heaviest data resides. And that's a cost thing at the end of the day. So you're not, even if it's super efficient through a pipe or a satellite network, that still has a dollar value. So if you minimize how much traffic you have there, then you're better off. And let the results move around where they need to be as well. So what we're doing specifically is for our core high performance computing software, making sure that it's portable, scalable, so we can optimize how we use our on-prem resources to create these new data sets, as well as provide them to our customers. But also if some of these data sets are absolutely huge, tens of petabytes. And once we get them to the data center, however that is, sometimes the on-prem capacity is just not enough. So the bursting is going to be key, and that's why the software has to be cloud-enabled on-prem and off-prem. So we're going to have that finished by the end of next year, where it's truly portable, which means we can also license our software to customers anywhere in the world on their public or private clouds. And then the other challenge in our industry is getting the data from where it's created on the offshore vessels or the land crews in that scenario to the data centers, whether they're public or private. And what people have started doing is doing the satellite, compressing data and satellite transmission. That's been around for a couple, 3 years. Some people are doing that, and that's around reducing cycle time and therefore cost and getting earlier access to results because data's got the value, is important for creating the decisions. So, I think you're going to see more of that as soon as, VSAT's very expensive, but as soon as low-level satellite transmission is available, data is just going to be pumped right to the data centers, on-prem or off-prem. We're not in the middle of creating software technology for that, but we're watching that space with partners and, who's providing that kind of those offerings. There's several companies that do already that will be well poised when the low-level satellite transmission is available. And I think you'll just see offshore data, whatever it is, whether it's seismic data in our industry or other offshore data, and just have it sent right where it needs to be.
So to sum it up, data is growing in your industry.
Yeah.
It has to get flexible in the sense that you're trying to make it consumable for your customer the way they want to consume it. It's mostly a hybrid model.
Yeah.
We agree data has gravity and it's pulling light data and applications to it. And it really sounds like the future's bright for your industry. Very exciting stuff.
It is. I mean, I have to say that the oil and gas industry has been under tremendous duress and lack of favorability, both from investors and the public for some time. And I think that it is clear that the oil and gas industry does provide, energy that's required for, getting people out of poverty around the world, and will be a part of the energy mix for some time. But we're gonna, and we're gonna serve that. So it is exciting to see that industry change in the respect that we're talking around data and high performance computing, data storage, and all that. And it will, and that's what's going to allow it to thrive even in tough times. But even though our customers are embracing the energy transition, which we find really encouraging because we've been working on that for about 18 months too, is diversifying into other industries, which is good which is the bright part about our future as well. So we're interested to see some of our, E&P customers moving towards, wind farm construction, and, that ties in with some of the things I mentioned around our Marlin software. So I like to see that alignment, and all of these things are around digital transformation, data, new ways of working with getting the right data in the right place to power data-driven decisions, and that is bright for us, and we're looking forward to that. And I do think you're going to see more of that data gravity coming into these other markets that I said were so-called light right now. But I think in the ports and harbor side, that will get deepened and enriched with more different types of data, and we'll start to have gravity. And in the defense areas we're looking at too, there's going to be all sorts of information there that's around logistics and security that are important as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed this discussion.
Yeah, Lou, it's been my pleasure. Great to be with you guys today, and I hope you have a great event across the board.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Appreciate it.